Think you understand every type of fighter in boxing? From the brawlers who march forward like tanks to the slick defensive wizards who make you miss all night, boxing's full of different breeds. Today, we're breaking down every major boxing archetype so you'll never be confused about what makes these fighters tick. Let's get into it. Number 8. The Slugger, Brawler. The Slugger is pure violence wrapped in boxing gloves. These fighters live for one thing, knocking you unconscious. They don't dance, they don't run, and they sure as hell aren't worried about looking pretty. Sluggers plant their feet, absorb punishment like a human anvil, and throw bombs until something connects. When it does, lights out. The strategy here is brutally simple. Sluggers typically have incredible durability and can take massive damage while stalking their prey. They close distance, cut off the ring, and overwhelm opponents with raw power. Their punches are slower than other styles, but pack enough force to end fights with a single shot. They favor hooks and uppercuts over speedy combinations, willing to take 3 punches to land one devastating blow. George Foreman defined the slugger archetype during his reign of terror in the 70s. Big George would walk through opponents' best shots like they were mosquito bites, then return fire with sledgehammer fists. Rocky Marciano was another pure slugger who retired undefeated at 49-0. The Rock was shorter than most heavyweights, but compensated with relentless pressure and devastating power in both hands. More recently, Deontay Wilder embodied the slugger mentality with his atomic right hand that could erase anyone from consciousness. Here's the weakness though. Sluggers are predictable. Their slow looping punches telegraph from a mile away, making them vulnerable to counterpunchers and outboxers who can exploit their lack of footwork. They burn energy fast, chasing mobile opponents, and if they can't land that knockout early, they risk gassing out. Still, there's nothing more terrifying than facing a slugger who's locked onto you. Don't forget to hit that like button and test out YouTube's newest hype feature. Thanks for watching, now back to the video. Number 7. The Outboxer, Pure Boxer. Outboxers are the tacticians of boxing. They control distance like a science experiment, using footwork and a sharp jab to keep opponents at the end of their punches while staying safely out of danger. These fighters are usually taller with long reach, and they use every inch of that advantage. An outboxer doesn't brawl or slug it out in phone booths. They pick you apart from the outside with precision and patience. The outboxer's jab is their most important weapon. It's a rangefinder, a scoring tool, and a defensive barrier all rolled into one. They use lateral movement to create angles, making opponents chase shadows. When you finally think you're close enough to land something, they've already pivoted out and are back at safe distance. It's frustrating as hell to fight against. Muhammad Ali was the ultimate outboxer. The greatest floated around the ring with balletic grace, peppering opponents with lightning-fast jabs before they could blink. His footwork was supernatural, his defense was art, and he made elite fighters look clumsy. Vladimir Klitschko used his massive 6'6" frame and 81-inch reach to dominate the heavyweight division for nearly a decade, jabbing opponents into submission. Lennox Lewis combined his 84-inch reach with technical brilliance to control distance masterfully. The downside? Outboxers can struggle against aggressive pressure fighters who cut off the ring and force them into exchanges. If a slugger or swarmer closes distance and takes away their space, outboxers lose their primary advantage. They also risk boring judges and fans with overly defensive tactics. But when an outboxer is firing on all cylinders, they make the sweet science look exactly like its name suggests. Number 6. The Pressure Fighter, Swarmer. Pressure fighters are boxing's versions of a relentless storm. They bombard opponents with volume punching, never giving them time to breathe or think. Swarmers fight in close quarters, throwing hooks and uppercuts from angles that make your head spin. They don't stop coming forward, cutting off the ring, forcing opponents into uncomfortable positions. It's exhausting just watching them. The Swarmer strategy requires incredible conditioning and exceptional punch resistance. They absorb shots to get inside range, then unleash flurries that overwhelm defensive systems. They work the body viciously to sap energy, crouching low to slip head punches while digging brutal shots into the ribs and liver. The goal is attrition, breaking opponents down through sheer volume until they crumble. Mike Tyson in his prime was a devastating pressure fighter. Iron Mike combined speed, power, and constant forward movement with head movement that made him incredibly hard to hit clean. He'd slip inside, explode with uppercuts and hooks, then reset and attack again. Manny Pacquiao brought Pac-Man pressure from southpaw, throwing punches in bunches from impossible angles at blistering speed. His opponents described fighting him like being attacked by a swarm of angry bees. Joe Frazier was another iconic swarmer whose bobbing, weaving, and relentless body attack broke down bigger men. The weakness is obvious though. Swarmers burn massive amounts of energy with their high output style. If they can't break their opponent down early, fatigue becomes a real problem. They're also vulnerable to one-punch knockout artists since they have to wade through fire to get inside. A well-timed counter from a slugger can shut their lights off mid-assault, but when a pressure fighter is rolling, they're absolutely terrifying to face. Number 5. The boxer puncher. The boxer puncher is boxing's Swiss Army knife. These fighters possess the technical skill and footwork of an outboxer, combined with the knockout power of a slugger. They can box beautifully from a distance, outwork you in exchanges, and put you to sleep with a single shot. It's the most complete and dangerous archetype because they have answers for every situation. Boxer punchers can adapt mid-fight based on what's working. Facing a slugger, they'll outbox them. Facing an outboxer, they'll match their technique, then hurt them with power they didn't expect. Against a swarmer, they can either box from distance or meet them in close-quarter warfare and win there too. This versatility makes them problematic matchups for specialists. Sugar Ray Leonard was the quintessential boxer puncher. Sugar Ray had blinding hand speed, exceptional footwork, and legitimate stopping power. He could dance circles around opponents or stand and trade when necessary. His wars with the other members of the legendary Four Kings showcased his adaptability. Sugar Ray Robinson, Leonard's namesake, is considered by many the greatest pound-for-pound fighter ever and perfected the boxer puncher style decades earlier. More recently, Canelo Alvarez has shown boxer puncher excellence, outboxing technical fighters while knocking out power punchers. The only real weakness is that mastering both boxing and punching takes years of dedication. Boxer punchers need to be elite in multiple areas, which requires rare natural talent combined with world-class training. But when a true boxer puncher enters their prime, they're virtually unbeatable. Number 4. The counterpuncher. Counterpunchers are the ultimate strategists with their fists. They don't initiate, they react. These fighters have supernatural timing and patience, waiting for opponents to commit before exploiting openings with precision counters. It's a style built on making you pay dearly for every mistake. Miss a jab? Eat a right hand. Overextend a hook? Get countered into oblivion. The counterpuncher's greatest weapon is their ring IQ. They study patterns obsessively, noticing if you drop your right hand after throwing a jab or if you load up before throwing power shots. Then they bait you into repeating those mistakes before capitalizing. They're defensive wizards who slip, roll, and parry punches while setting traps. When you think you're having success landing, you're actually walking into their game plan. Juan Manuel Marquez was a master counterpuncher whose 4-fight saga with Manny Pacquiao showcased his skill, perfectly placed counters. His knockout of Pacquiao in their 4th fight was a textbook counterpunch, catching Manny mid-attack with a right hand that face-planted him dramatically. Floyd Mayweather Jr. was equally brilliant as a counterpuncher, using his pull counter to make aggressive fighters miss and pay. Bernard Hopkins was another defensive genius whose counterpunching and ring generalship allowed him to compete at the highest level into his late 40s. The downside is that counterpunchers need opponents to lead. If they face another counterpuncher, the fight can become a boring tactical stalemate where neither fighter wants to initiate. They also need to stay switched on mentally for 12 rounds because one lapse in concentration can cost them. But a great counterpuncher in full flow is poetry in motion. Number 3. The switch hitter. Switch hitters are boxing's ultimate mind screw. These rare fighters can seamlessly fight from both orthodox and southpaw stances, creating angles that confuse even elite opponents. One second they're jabbing from the right, next second they've switched and are attacking from completely different positions. It's like fighting two different people in the same body. The advantage is massive. Most fighters spend their entire careers preparing for one stance. When a switch hitter changes stances mid-fight, it forces opponents to completely adjust their defense, footwork, and attack patterns on the fly. Orthodox fighters struggle with southpaw angles and vice versa. A skilled switch hitter exploits this confusion ruthlessly, switching stances to set up power punches or counter opportunities. Marvelous Marvin Hagler is considered one of the greatest switch hitters ever. Although naturally right-handed, Hagler trained primarily as a southpaw but could switch to orthodox to throw opponents off. His versatility made him virtually unbeatable during his dominant reign as undisputed middleweight champion from 1980 to 1987. Terence Crawford is the modern master of switch hitting. Bud Crawford switches stances so smoothly mid-combination that opponents don't realize what hit them until they're on the canvas. He's equally devastating from both sides, which is almost unheard of. Prince Nassim Hamed also utilized stance switching as part of his flashy, unpredictable arsenal. The challenge is that mastering both stances takes double the training. Most fighters struggle to be elite from just one stance. Being equally skilled from both sides requires exceptional coordination and years of dedicated practice. But when a switch hitter perfects their craft, they become nearly impossible to prepare for. Number 2. The southpaw specialist. Southpaws are natural counterclockwise nightmares. Only about 10% of the population is left-handed, meaning orthodox fighters spend their entire careers primarily fighting right-handed opponents. When they face a southpaw, everything feels wrong. The angles are backwards, the power hand is coming from unexpected positions, and their entire game plan goes out the window. Southpaws create constant awkwardness. Their straight left hand is positioned directly down the middle against orthodox fighters, while their right hook comes from the outside as a devastating lead punch. The battle for foot position becomes critical as both fighters try to get their lead foot outside their opponent's lead foot for better angles. Southpaws who master this footwork battle control the entire fight. Manny Pacquiao used his southpaw stance combined with explosive speed to become an 8-division world champion. His left straight and right hook were weapons that knocked out elite fighters across multiple weight classes. Pernell Whitaker was a defensive southpaw wizard whose slick movement made him one of the most difficult fighters to hit cleanly in boxing history. Vasily Lomachenko has shown southpaw brilliance with his matrix-like footwork and technical mastery, winning world titles in 3 weight divisions in just 12 professional fights. Tiger Flowers became the first African-American middleweight champion in 1926, pioneering the southpaw style. The weakness? While southpaws have advantages against orthodox fighters, they struggle when facing other southpaws since they lose their awkwardness advantage. Also, finding quality sparring partners who are southpaws is difficult, meaning orthodox fighters sometimes get better preparation. Still, a skilled southpaw always has the edge in awkwardness. Number 1. The unorthodox, awkward fighter. Here's where boxing gets truly weird. Unorthodox fighters break every rule, ignore every convention, and somehow make it work through sheer unpredictability and athletic genius. These fighters keep their hands down, throw punches from impossible angles, move in ways that shouldn't be effective, and generally do everything trainers tell you not to do. Yet they win. The power of unorthodox fighting is that opponents can't prepare for it. You can't spar someone who fights like them because nobody fights like them. They create their own rules, their own timing, their own distance management. Traditional techniques don't work because they're not fighting traditionally. By the time you figure out their rhythm, the fight's over. Naseem Hamed was the poster child for unorthodox brilliance. Prince Naseem would lean back with his hands at his waist, daring opponents to punch before exploding with lightning counters from bizarre angles. His footwork was unique, his punch selection was wild, and his confidence was unshakable. He knocked out elite fighters who couldn't solve his riddle. Nicolino Locke was another incredibly unorthodox fighter, nicknamed the Untouchable. Despite being a chain smoker and looking nothing like an athlete, Locke made world-class fighters miss constantly with subtle defensive movements nobody could replicate. Emmanuel Augustus entertained crowds with his showboating, unorthodox style that completely bewildered opponents. The massive weakness is that unorthodox styles often rely on superior physical gifts and reflexes. When those diminish with age, the style falls apart because there's no technical foundation to fall back on. Prince Naseem's career ended poorly when his physical advantages disappeared against Marco Antonio Barrera, but in their primes, unorthodox fighters are the most entertaining and confusing opponents in boxing. They remind us that boxing is still art, not just science. There you have it. Every major boxing archetype explained from the ground up, from the sluggers who turn fights into street brawls, to the slick outboxers who make it look easy, to the absolute freaks who ignore every rule and win anyway. Understanding these styles makes you a smarter boxing fan and helps you appreciate the strategic battle happening inside that ring. Each archetype has strengths, weaknesses, and legends who perfected it. If this breakdown helped you understand the sweet science a little better, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're breaking down everything boxing here, giving you the deep dives and explanations that make you the smartest fan in the room. Hit that subscribe button and let's keep this going.